Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is AlbanerEugene Jr., and I have the amazing opportunity to travel and gather people at the top of the year to just do something that, if you know me personally, I really enjoy when people share their story. I really enjoy hearing stories. I believe that there is a strength behind sharing your story, and we call that a testimony. A story about how we overcome, a story about how we've gone through, and a story about how we're still here. And I honestly just want to give hope. I want to inspire and encourage. And so first and foremost, like I always say every year, I pray that you are not on your phone. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience on your phone. If you have a laptop, or if honestly, I know it's 2022, I heard that people have like smart TVs. Get your TV out, pull it up on the big screen. If you have people with you, watch it with your loved ones. Some of you are going to see people you love. Some of you are going to hear some amazing stories, and I want this to be an enjoyable experience. Grab your snacks now. Grab all your treats, popcorn, whatever it is you got going on. I'm all for it. But listen, I'm excited, and I pray that you enjoy these stories that you're about to hear. I pray that you enjoy this year's theme, and ultimately, what I really wanted to capture was the essence of sports. Sports is a very, very important topic to me. As a former athlete myself, I think that there's a part of that life of an athlete that not many people talk about, especially in the African American community. There's a place, there's a time period, and there's a season that doesn't happen on the court or the field, that happens in private, that I want to shine light on. People this year have really blessed me, and it takes a lot of courage to tell your story. And so I pray that you enjoy it. You listen all the way to the end. God bless you guys.
So hey everybody, my name is Belva May. I am a native of Orange, New Jersey, born and raised. I turned 40 years old today, and I'm a former professional basketball athlete. When I believe I had to be about 5 years old was the first time I picked up a basketball. And I remember particularly one day, my brothers and cousins were in the backyard playing. And so they needed an extra player. So they wanted to pretty much have like a 2-on-2 game. And they needed an extra player. And so I was a tomboy. So my cousin was like, well, just come, and just get the ball and shoot it. Now, mind you, we didn't have a rim, we didn't have a hoop. We had a blue garbage can, but the bottom was cut out. And the reason why the bottom of it was cut out was because we would drag the garbage can from the backyard to the front every Monday and Thursday night for garbage. And so I remember the first shot I took, I missed it. And I remember another shot, I missed it, and I fell to the floor because my cousin hit me so hard. And then I remember another shot I took, and it went through. And ever since then, that day, I should say, the game of basketball became something that I just loved and enjoyed to do.
So my name is Sean Tucker. I'm a father, I'm a leader, minister, brother. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Associate Vice President and Director of Athletics at New Jersey City University. My start, I landed here at New Jersey City University in 2018. This was literally 20 years in the making of being able to be the first African American to be the Associate Vice President, Director of Athletics here at NJCU. 20 years of playing in sports, being an administrator at Rutgers University, being an athlete at Rutgers as a football player, and then my time just being around the game of sports. As a child, I loved sports. I played tennis, was my first sport. I picked up a tennis racket at the age of 6 years old. I had a private instruction that my mom gave me as a birthday present, and with that birthday present, I was able to pick up a tennis racket and play. And I put it down a year into it, didn't really love it, but I definitely loved the idea and the essence of competing and being athletic and being outside.
My name is Robert Arnold Jr., AKA Robo, or Robbie. I have a lot of aliases, but pretty much a little bit about me. I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey. I was into sports and growing up pretty much in the 70s, like in all predominantly white neighborhood, a lot of, mixed cultures and stuff like that, but predominantly white, like Italian, German, Polish, and things like that. And there was only 2 black families on the block, and obviously my family was one of them. But I liked the diversity growing up. I had learned a lot about different races and things like that, but learned to get along and play with kids, my age and things like that. So the bottom line, the moral of the story is like we all played sports growing up, and no matter what color where we were or what color where we are or whatever, we all got along because sports brought us together, and we just played wiffle ball, baseball, basketball, football, street hockey, you name it, we did it all.
So my name is AlbanerEugene Thompson. I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey, born and raised. Lived in Bayonne for a few years. Now I'm currently, I stay in West Orange. I'm a 19-year-old, well, not 19, 20. I actually just turned 20 last week, so it's kind of getting to me right now. But basically, my journey in sports, I would say it was long but short in a sense. Because I'm only 20 and I'm not playing anymore, and I stopped when I was about 19. So growing up, when I was younger, honestly, I can't even estimate the age. My uncles and my grandfather, they all played basketball. And like my whole family, they were into sports. Like my cousins, they played football. And when I was younger, I didn't play any sports, but my cousins did. So, I was always interested. Then when my uncles and my grandfather were playing basketball, they always took me to the basketball court. Like I was always around sports. So let's fast forward a little bit.
I think it started when in my community, playing with the boys and the summer leagues, and them beating me up, hitting me, dunking on me. I mean, taking a lot. And in those moments, just the perseverance of not giving up. It's something about when you hear people in your ear and encouraging you and supporting you and telling you, like, look, you got a bright future, stick with it. Like, don't worry about those guys, because one day you're going to score on them, you're going to do this on them. And by the motivation and God using those people to encourage me, that day came where I remember in particular one summer league, in the boys league, I won MVP. And I think that was the peak of me realizing the talent that I had, and that if I just stuck with it, that eventually it'll take me someplace.
And so as I got into other recreational sports, I started playing flag football. I played recreational basketball, and then also did a little bit of track and field. Throughout my middle school years, I was playing these sports from a recreational standpoint, but then I had the opportunity to try out for the middle school basketball team. And while I was very good at the time, this was the first time I actually came up against adversity. I didn't make the team, and I'm telling you, I was crushed. It happened around the month of December, second week of December, where we had the final tryouts, and you kind of go to the board, you look for your name, and you go down that list, and your name's not there. And at that moment, like you start to well up, and you're trying to hold it because you're in the locker room and it's a bunch of middle schoolers. And so if they see you weak and vulnerable, they're gonna use that to their advantage. And so as any young boy at the time, you just play it off like, man, I don't care, right? I don't even want to play basketball anyway. I'm a football guy, right? But I'm gonna tell you, when I got home, I just bawled my eyes out. I threw my face into a pillow, and I just cried. I wept, because that was the first time where I wasn't chosen. It's like being picked last. Like, I've always been that guy to be picked first or second. I was always that guy that people wanted to be around. And for the first time, whether I felt like politics was involved with it, it didn't really matter. I was crushed. And I used that as my fuel. The following year, obviously, I left middle school and went to high school. I went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. And I decided to say, you know what? I'm gonna take a year off in my freshman year, and I'm just gonna get stronger. I was very frail at the time, And I felt like that was at a disadvantage. And so for the first time, I started to work out and lift weights. And so after the end of my freshman year in high school, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try out for the football team. And I made the team. My older brother at the time was a part of the varsity team, and he had just graduated a year or so. And I made the team, and it, to me, felt like the best accomplishment that I ever had, because I had to try out and I had to make the high school team, and I did. And lo and behold, because I did so well, they quickly moved me up to varsity.
And I started playing football in Paterson, New Jersey for McDonald's. Then, surprisingly, I was afraid to hit. I was scared to hit. And my coaches used to make fun of me, take me aside, just like, Arnold, you have to hit. This game, you have to hit. You got to be ferocious. You have to be, you know, you got to have another side to you, or something like that. And so I was I was afraid to hit. So I sat the bench my first year playing football, and I didn't like it at all. Then the second year, I went out for the team, and I just made up my mind. A switch just went off in my mind. It was just like God was just helped me make that transition of, all right, make a decision, follow through with it. And I just made my mind up. I was like, I'm just gonna hit. I'm like, you know, what's gonna happen to me? And then next thing I know, I'm making an all-star team. And coaches started praising me and saying, Arnold, I don't know what happened to you, but, you know, keep it up, keep up the hard work. Then from there, then went on to high school and college.
I spoke to the track coach, and like their season already like kind of just started, but you know, he let me, you know, practice and stuff like that just for the winter. So I went to the practices, and I'm not gonna lie, track was a different breed. I thought basketball was tough, track is different. Like, I was like, oh nah, this is something crazy. But for some reason, like, I wanted to keep going, because like me, I like challenge, I like being competitive with people. So, you know, I kept doing it. And that's when, you know, freshman outdoor came, and I had a first meet, I think it was in Montclair, and I did, I guess you could say I got like a 56 and a 4. That's pretty slow. No, matter of fact, it was like a 57. And at the end of it, I'm like, oh, nah, like, I'm not gonna hold you. I thought I was about to die. Like, now I'm trying to gas him. Like, this is something different. I don't know how I'm gonna keep doing this. But I liked it. Finished the season my sophomore year. That was a calm year. Junior year came along. Well, the summer, matter of fact, leading up to junior year, I was like, you know what, Lemire? Stick to track. You like it. You've been wanting to do it, too, for a while. And just go for it. Let's see how you adjust.
Man, well, being the first in my family to actually go to college. I mean, I went to the University of Cincinnati on a full athletic scholarship. So that was huge for me, because I believe that it broke barriers in my family. Again, my grandmother had 12 children, and each of their kids had kids, but it was more so something that has never been done before. And for me, just kind of like taking on that role of being that leader in the family, and doing something that the eyes of man would say is impossible, but, you know, God just sending people in my path to just deposit, you know, a sense of hope, a sense of trust, a sense of belief that if I just keep grinding, that, you know, great things will happen for me. Just to back up, when I was in high school, I broke the all-time scoring record. No one has, to this day, has broke my scoring title of 2,090 points. And that's just a testament to the work that I put in. I remember rain, sleet, snow, I would be in the yard grinding. Because for one, I'm gonna be honest and transparent today, is that, you know, my mother suffered from drug abuse. And so for me, it was an outlet to not see my mom go through that. So every chance I would get to get a ball in my hand and just go to the backyard and shoot and do what it is that I needed to do to just take my mind off of that, that's what I did. And not really understanding it all at that time until I got into high school. And then I did, you know, I had scoring titles and won championships and things like that. And then the door for the University of Cincinnati opened up.
I came here on a full ride scholarship to play basketball. Well, I was in Willenboro, New Jersey, playing basketball, and we made it to quite a few championships. And during my senior year, there was a scout that actually came from Georgian Court to see me play. I didn't know that they were in the audience, and I'm glad I didn't know, because that does change the way you play. Absolutely. So that was the best part of it. So I was out there playing, always putting my heart out, and they approached, I think, my parents. I don't know how it actually works, but they asked me to come on a full ride.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I get to go to help my parents out too. That was like a dream come true. So basketball is my game. I tell everybody that. I love the sport. So that was a piece of cake to me. I did have other scholarships offered to me from Villanova. I had track scholarships offered to me. But they were far away. I was like, no, I want to stay close to home. So it was perfect. It was like almost an hour away, so it was perfect to be here.
And so I did that. I grind. I went quietly out the door, and I just began to put all my energy and focus into football. And fast forwarding from there, those 2 years in high school and football were great years for me. I became a first-team All-State performer in 6A state with the state of Florida, which, as we all know, whoever's watching this, we know Florida football runs the show. Texas is only big, right? California's huge. But Florida, you talk about just the per capita and amount of athletes down there. We love football down there. And to be successful, to be the first team performer there was something that I really was proud of and grateful for. And it opened up the door and the ticket for me to pursue playing college football. I always wanted to play college football. I remember watching college football as a young kid, watching Miami Hurricanes and Florida State Seminoles go off and play each other each and every year, and I loved it. And what was great about that is now I'm being recruited to these schools. And at that time, I really, really wanted to play for Bobby Bowden, who just passed away this year. And my heart was set. So everything I was doing in high school, training-wise, competing, was in the back of my mind to get a scholarship to play at Florida State University. And at that time, they were the #1 and #2 teams in the country. So I was being recruited by a lot of big schools: Ohio State University, North Carolina State University, Auburn, Rutgers University. And on my recruiting visit to New Jersey, is my opportunity to be able to come up and see Rutgers University in person. I was flown out, private jet. This is when all this was legal now. I don't know if it's legal now from a recruiting standpoint. But Coach Shiano at the time brought up a handful of guys from the state of Florida to come visit Rutgers campus. At the time, he was a defensive coordinator at the University of Miami. He had left and took the head job at Rutgers University. And at Rutgers University, we took this recruiting trip, and we got here to New York City. And I tell you what, the bright lights, the big buildings, it just got me. I was hooked. I was mesmerized. I was saying, in my heart was like, wow, this will be amazing to kind of build something here. At the time, Rutgers University was just known for losing often and frequently and bad. And so he was really selling the idea of being a part of something special. And as a 17-year-old, you're thinking, I want to be a part of something special because I wouldn't want to be known for something special.
And as, going, I got bigger and things like that, and seeing success in the weight room, and my confidence grew and it translated onto the football field, then getting, intrigued and wanting to go to college. I always wanted to go to college far away. I wanted to get out in New Jersey because I wanted to see what else is out there besides New Jersey or the inner city and things like that. So I was always intrigued watching schools down in Florida, wherever teams that were on TV, I watched. And I'd have my mind just go there where the fans and what would be like to play 50,000 people, things like that. But my senior year in college, I had a few schools look at me. I was getting a bunch of letters from Penn State, Iowa, East Carolina, Florida, but you get the idea. But but I didn't have the grades because I didn't think, education was that cool. But when college scouts wanted you and they talk to you, and the first thing is like, yeah, we like you, we like the way you play, but and it's like but how your grades? And I was like, ugh, C average and things like that. But it was terrible, but it could have been a lot better if I had applied myself as much as I did in a weight room. If I did equal the same, I would probably went to a bigger time school, big time. But education is key. So all the big schools that were looking at me. So I ended up going to a small school in Nebraska called Peru State College.
It was strenuous at first. Honestly, it was challenging because, of course, on a scholarship, you do have to keep your grades up. That was no problem to me, though. I love school, I love learning, so my grades were fine. But it is a lot of challenge because you got to keep a balance, your grades, and then we were like movie stars. You know, you're coming from high school, and then we got here, and they had funding where we actually took plane rides, and they were giving us money. We got new sneaks, new socks, new everything, you know. So I felt like I was like the pros, you know, coming from high school. So it was really good. You got treated well in that aspect. It was a lot of challenges for me though, because I was the only black girl on the team.
Okay.
And that created a few issues because coming in as a freshman, of course you already have your sophomores, your juniors, and your seniors, your star players that are already there.
Right.
So, and the coaches already know their players too. So you are the newcomer coming in. But it was very difficult because as I said, the game, I play hard.
This is your game.
Yes. So the good thing is I did make friends quickly. The only issue is that they did have a star player.
Okay.
And that created a lot of issues because this star player she was good. I'm not gonna say she wasn't, but basketball is a team sport.
Absolutely.
And I'm a team player. So, but it was really exciting because even though I was like maybe 5'9", even though some of the girls on the team were even taller than me, including this star player, and there was other good players too, point guards and everything, they actually picked me later to be the jump ball person, which was called the secret weapon in a way because everybody's like, this short girl coming to do the jump ball. Like
how?
They thought they're looking like they're making a mistake. But the Lord blessed me with leaps, you know. I don't know where they came from, but the Lord blessed me. So
so you really were the secret weapon.
Yes,
okay.
And it was really good because my height was deceiving, but when I jumped I was able to jump high.
Okay.
So it ended up being a good, my first year as a freshman, I got Rookie of the Year trophy and everything. So it was really good to be on the team with the players. It was really great. Yeah, as I jumped, I did the jump ball, but then I would fall in to be a forward.
You know what? In the beginning, when it first happened, I actually broke it. I actually scored 2,000 points 3 days after my mother passed away of a drug overdose. And so, and at that time, it really didn't register. It didn't even matter because, you know, I lost my mom. It wasn't until probably, I'll be honest, probably like 5 years ago when I walked back into the gym of Orange High School and I saw my name up there on a banner, and then you see like the other leading scorers up there, but you know, mine was at the top of the list, and I just realized in that moment how God from birth planted to see the greatness in me, and it just took, you know, me to go through life to come back to really see how that seed has flourished, how it has blessed so many young people, how they are encouraged. When I walk through the doors, they are like, you know, like I'm a celebrity. And God gets all the glory for that because now I have a testimony. I can tell them, you know, my story, how I overcame, how I persevered, how, you know, I stayed with it despite, you know, the circumstances and the issue that I was facing at home. Before I went to the University of Cincinnati, I ended up signing to a junior college, which is a 2-year school. I played 2 years there. You know, I accomplished many great things there. The University of Cincinnati, at that time when I was in JUCO, I had every school in the country recruiting me. I ended up, you know, signing with the University of Cincinnati, and you know, it was challenging because you know, when you're playing at that caliber of basketball, you have to be mentally ready for that, physically ready for that. At that time, I didn't have a relationship with God. I mean, I had accepted Jesus Christ at the age of 19, and that was solely due to my mother's death. To be honest, my entire family came in. So when I got to Cincinnati, I was very undisciplined. I just ran wild. You know what I mean? There were moments that I had great games. There were moments where, I was put to the test to see if I would stay or would I leave or would I give up. To be honest, there was a time when I almost got kicked off the team and almost lost my full ride. I played maybe 2 months and then I got pregnant with my son. Just being honest, I got pregnant with my son 2 months after playing.
But what God was doing behind the scenes in that moment was really putting me into a place of what I would end up be doing for, honestly, maybe the rest of my life. Being in settings, being in environments where those that are overlooked, those that are coming from poor situations, those are coming from situations that don't have it all out on a platter, that you would be a part of those transformational moments. And so as a 17, I'm thinking that way. I'm thinking lights. He took me backstage of Saturday Night Live, and I was just amazed, like, wow, this could be a potential opportunity for me, even when I'm done playing football, to just be in this environment. So long story short, I told Ohio State no. I told Auburn University no. I told NC State no, and I accepted a full ride scholarship to come play Division I football at Rutgers University. My freshman year, and wrapped it up. We didn't have a great season. It was very challenging. In high school, we were regional district champions, so all I've known was winning. And for the first time, athletically, in the team setting, it wasn't the case. We were 1-11. Tough. There was moments in my mind where I felt like, I think I'm about to transfer, right? And I remember distinctly leaving the tunnel after one game and Coach Shiano coming up to me and putting his arms around me. And I can tell at the time, he could see that I was homesick, I was frustrated for losing, and he just said 2 words: hang in there, essentially. Because he knew that something special could be brewing here at Rutgers if we just remained committed to the vision. And so I did that. After my freshman year, we trained, we worked hard, got to my sophomore year, we went from 1 win to 5 wins. So you're starting to see some of the success. Now I'm starting. Now I'm making a greater impact. Now I'm being recognized even in the conference from an athletic standpoint. So all that was happening in high school is now starting to translate here in college.
A small college, which I learned to like. At first I was homesick. Being from New Jersey and being out and going out in Nebraska and things like that. And different culture. Big time. But football and obviously class, but football, being with the guys and building relationships and meeting new people helped me out big time during the season. Then after the season was over, that's when you have a little bit more downtime, but you have the workouts and things like that with your teammates and school. But you get a little bit more time to yourself, you think. That's when I was getting like homesick a lot more. Then I made a decision, you know what? I'm not coming back, I'm going home. And I tried to transfer, go to another school, but Dad was like, stick it out. Go back to school. Took a semester off. I missed the 1 year football season. And then my dad was like, stick it out, finish what you start. So I went back to school, out to Nebraska, and finished up. So I'm glad he told me that, because once you make a commitment and you follow through with it, you're gonna see the benefits of it. Once you put everything into it, you're gonna get something out of it. I made Rookie of the Year. Once I made that commitment, I made Rookie of the Year. Then my senior year, I got voted All-American by my peers. I got snubbed from another All-American status, but who cares? But as long as my peers and, you know, the guys that I played against, I had their respect and they voted for me. So, but let me explain something to you. My last game, my senior year, when it was senior day, and all the seniors were being called out, and 4 years, boom, or 4.5 or 5 years, whatever, how long. But the 4 years that I played football there, senior day, which I thought would never come, but it came. It was a blink of an eye. And they called my name, I'm running out. I'm like, yeah, I'm hyped up, whatever. Then the back of my mind was like, what am I gonna do now?
And that's when, you know, indoor track came, which I was excited for. A lot of my teammates was excited for. I was like, all right, bet, I'm back, I'm stronger. And I honestly feel like I'm getting to the peak of, like, when it comes to, like, my track career, like how I felt, my body felt incredible. I'm like, I'm getting stronger in this aspect, stuff like that. So beginning of the indoor season, you know, it kind of started off not slow, but honestly, I was putting up numbers, you know, numbers that was good to me, and my coach at the time, like, yeah, it was good. And my coach was like, wow, all right, keep pushing. Kept pushing. Indoor season was great, no injuries. I was feeling, like, good. Middle of the season, I'm knocking down, like, I'm running 4x4s. I'm getting great splits, like splits that I didn't expect. My coach like, Lemire, look at the board, like, keep going, like, you're doing good. So I'm like, all right, bet. And honestly, like I said, I feel like I was in the best shape of my life going out towards indoor season, because of course when, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like a lot of people are like this when it comes to track. We love outdoor way better than indoor. Indoor is kind of like a preparation for outdoor at the end of the day. So I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good. Let's say less, like outdoor, we about to go crazy. And all I remember is towards the end of, you know, indoor season, you get to the section news, stuff like that, and they're held in Toms River, you know, South Jersey. So the last few meets started to come up, and they were going good. We was advancing, and it was like, then we got to a point where we knew, like, all right, bet this was probably most likely gonna be, you know, our last meet, unfortunately. And all I remember is like a picture I keep playing, like, in my mind, bro, which is so crazy. Me and like 3 of my other teammates at the time, 2 of us were seniors on a 4x4. The other one, unfortunately, was injured. And I remember I looked at my teammate Keith. We dapped each other up and hugged each other. Like, this is just so crazy. We was like, bro, this is really our last meet. Indoor, like as seniors, bro. Like, this is crazy. We dapped each other up and hugged each other, bro. And like me, I'm not no sentimental person. Like, if you know me, I don't really into that hugging stuff. But that was my teammate. And like when my teammates, I looked at them as brothers. So I dapped them up. We hugged each other. He was like, all right. Like, we looked at each other in our eyes. We was like, all right, bro, go out there, push. Like, let's put up numbers today. We was like, all right, bet.
Oh man, I was scared. Yes, I was scared. I was very scared. To be honest, I almost aborted my son. The thing that caused me not to do it was that when I was on the table and they put like the little heart monitor on your belly to check, you know, the heartbeat of the baby, I heard his heartbeat. And in that moment, I said, I can't do this. This is a law. This is a baby. This is a human being. And honestly, it was the greatest thing I've done in my life thus far, I believe, because God used my son to save my life. Because remember I told you that I went from, you know, following God to getting to that place and then leaving God and then coming back to God. And so my son has been that keeping power that God has used as a living vessel. So whenever I see my son, I see God through my son. And it's like, you know, I don't want to let my son down. I don't want to do things that I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to tell my son Jalen, that's his name, to do something and then I'm not doing it. You know, I want to be that example, that leader in his life. And that was the thing that really set the tone for my life, was the reality is that I'm a mom and that I'm responsible for that child. You know, I have to give account for what I teach him and what I don't teach him, how I lead and don't lead. Shortly after I had my son, I decided to go back. And at this point, I was playing up in New York in the West 4th League. I actually had a tryout with the Houston Comets at that time. And I remember the Lord, I was praying to the Lord because I had a child and I knew what it was to not have a mother around, you know, and so I didn't want to neglect my son. I didn't want to choose a career, you know, over my son, and just felt like I was cheating him and being selfish. And so I remember praying to the Lord when I had this tryout, and the Lord told me to walk away. He said, walk away. I remember as clear as day. He said, walk away. And I didn't really understand like what he meant, but I did it because I knew in my heart I wanted to raise my son. I didn't want anyone else raising him. And I walked away.
And it was in my sophomore year, at the end of the year, I labored all year with a lower leg injury, and I couldn't figure out why. Why is my groin muscle hurting me? I ended up having an MRI, and they saw that I had micro tears alongside my groin. And I was going to have, at the end of the season, surgery to repair it. So finished the season. We didn't make a bowl game, but I had a successful year in terms of leading the team and receiving yards, and all these great things that I expected of myself. So it wasn't a shock at all. At that time, agents started to reach out. They were all anticipating in 2-3 years that you're going to enter into the draft, the 2005, 2006 draft, depending on if you redshirt. And so in my mind, all eyes, all focus was on NFL. Like, I know I had the talent. I'm going against my teammates day in and day out, putting in work, giving them work. There was no doubt in my mind. And I was never a big kind of like ego trash talker. That just wasn't my game. I was just a slow, silent assassin. I would just kill you with my routes, kill you with my game. And my teammates knew it. Sometimes they'll nickname me Smooth Tuck, because that's how I ran my routes. Everything was just smooth. It didn't feel like a lot of effort was being put out there, and I was still getting open and still making plays. So at the end of that sophomore year, I had groin surgery. And going into the surgery, I was down there at Drexel University Hospital down there in Philadelphia. And I remember the night before, distinctively, that I was like, man, I can't wait to just bounce back. Because I didn't really have an appreciation for surgery. I said, I'm going to bounce back. There's nothing going to be wrong with me. And then I get to the hospital, and they take me through. I have the surgery. And as I'm laying on the hospital bed coming out of surgery, for the first time in my life, I kid you not, for the first time in my life, I'm looking up at the ceiling, and fear hit me. It hit me. I'm not invincible. Like, I remember saying those words, like, I'm not invincible. Like, I did not play sports. I rolled my ankle, I sprained certain things in my body, but I was always bounced back. I remember broken this tendon in my finger in a game, and then wrapping up and me playing the game, scoring 2 touchdowns and getting an interception. So in my mind, it's like, when I'm hurt and injured, I'm always going to bounce back. But now I'm laying in the bed, double groin surgery, and the prognosis of my recovery time being 8 months. And I couldn't even imagine, like, not playing sports. But for the first time, I had to.
Straight up honest with you, 100% before God, I was like, what the heck am I doing now? And so I played the game, had an awesome game, and we won 41-6. And we were supposed to go to the playoffs, but it didn't happen. So, and I started getting intrigued. I wanted ambitions to play in NFL. So I started working out on my own, and I didn't have an agent, anything like that. I just started working out and started calling people, sending letters and things like that. But if you don't have an agent, it's one of a million chance of getting out there. And when I was growing up, it was like no social media or anything like that. You just sent out tapes and mailed it to the front office at any NFL team, things like that. But they probably had thousands upon thousands of videos of different kids from all over the country. So it's really hard. It's not easy. So then I had tryouts for the Dallas Cowboys. I was God, because I don't know. It's just like I just had an opportunity, and Jason Garrett's father, which he was a Dallas Cowboys recruiter at that time, they were doing a special camp in Pennsylvania, and somehow my name popped up somewhere. I don't know. It's just God was looking out for me, and so I have an opportunity. So I went, and it's a 5-day camp, 2 days, and it was no joke, but and they evaluate you and everything like that. And make a long story short, it was like you should play arena football to build your skills up and things like that. So, and I was like, I didn't want to do that. So I left and I started playing semi-pro football because I had the urge to still hit people and things like that. So, but when it was all said and done, I had to figure out still what I want to do for a career, what I want to do in life. I had odd jobs. I was a waiter. Wasn't so fun, but I was a waiter. I had to eat. With which college degree? I didn't want to. I wanted to be a PE teacher at that time, but I thought I wanted to be a PE teacher, but no, I didn't want to do that.
And we went out there, we performed, we did better than we expected, and like it was a good feeling, like just to know like I ran my last race with my brothers, like it felt so good, and just to know like all right, we're about to be prepared for outdoor now, like we're getting this done. We put so much work and dedication in for no, like it wasn't for no reason. We did what we had to do. So we took, I believe you take like a week, or like a little longer than a week, to just relax your body just for a little bit to get ready to go out to outdoor season. So me and my teammate Molly at the time, we was like gassed. He was like, all right, coach, we good. Like, let's just, we want to hurry up and get out with the team for outdoor and just practice. But coach was like, nah, relax. So, we'll be out there, doing like running just a little bit. Like I said, we had to let our bodies rest and stuff. So I think a week or two passed and like we was able to fully practice. So we started practicing, and I'm trying to like just remember, indoor season finished like middle of February or either late February. And then that's when, March rolls around and you start, working out for outdoor. So that's when practice was regular, practice was real regular. And I'm starting to talk slow here because it's weird. It's a weird feeling because I don't like talking about this part. So, practice was going great. Like I said, we was prepared. Like I was at the best shape of my life. I felt like when it came to track, a lot of my teammates was feeling great. We was like, all right, outdoor's about to be crazy. Like we looking at national times. We was like, all right, if we run this indoor, we know we could run this outdoor even way faster. So we was feeling good. And I remember, I believe it was like around March 30th, COVID, like, the pandemic, that's when it started to roll around. And I remember like, I remember just talking to my coach, and I'm fast forwarding a little bit because this is gonna get to the main point. So I remember, my coach would like text a group chat and like we'll send stuff about COVID, like, oh, what is this pandemic? I remember during indoor, like that's when like they started to talk about it like just a little bit because that's when like cases started to rise, but like we didn't pay no attention to it. And then all of a sudden, like it just started to spread. So, like supposedly it just started to spread everywhere. And I remember, March 30th, we was in school, and like I think they either emailed us the night before or like a few nights before, and they was like, all right, on this day, y'all gonna leave school for like a week or two, and just so we like could clean it, disinfect it, and figure out what's going on. And like all of the athletes, we was a little shook because we was like, all right, we don't want to miss practice. So our coach, gave us, workouts to do during the break. And March 30th was like the last day, like we were all in high school together. March 30th for 2019, the March 30th for 2020, my apologies, was the last day we was in high school together. And at that moment, we didn't know that was gonna be our last day walking in those hallways, like talking to our coach, like face to face for a while. So we left, we went home, we was like, all right, we'll be back in a week. We texting the group chats, like stay in high spirits, we good. We kept working out, like we'll link up with each other, work out, do our runs and all that, making sure, we stay in shape, like keep holding each other accountable because like I said, like the seniors and even the juniors, like we knew like, all right, bet, like outdoor is gonna be crazy. Like we're looking at national times and national numbers right now. So time just started to go, time time was going like fast and slow at the same time, but it was like, it's really at a weird time where I can't really like vaguely like even speak to you about it, because like I'm at a time where I'm at such high hopes, but you're just sitting back and seeing time just keep on going, and like we're calling each other and like on FaceTime for like just hours, like, yo, like it's already April, like we didn't start nothing, we didn't have one meet, like meet season is supposed to be coming up. May came, we was like, all right, the whole month of April we didn't run one meet. Even like once May came, we still had hope. Beginning of May, we still had hope. We like, all right, we'll be good. Like keep high hopes. Even the teammates who didn't really have high hopes of the season going on, we was like, bro, trust me. Like everything's gonna be fine. And early June came. I don't know how, but we still had hope. But I feel like the hope came because we loved it. We really enjoyed the sport. We loved the competitiveness. We loved just being around each other. Beginning of June came. I'm a senior, so I'm like, all right, I gotta, I've been started preparing for graduation. I started looking at colleges and stuff. Well, not even start looking at colleges. I knew where I really wanted to go, like the few schools I wanted to, apply to and go. So I came to the realization with myself that, all right, Lemire, high school track is done. You didn't finish where you wanted to, unfortunately. You didn't finish like with the times that you wanted to, unfortunately, but it's done. I'm not gonna lie, I did break down. I started crying a little bit, because I'm like, I really felt like I was at like a peak of my athletic, like my ability, the way I was feeling. I'm like, I'm at a peak right now. Like I know what I can do. I know what is about to happen with the team, the stuff that we're about to do, and like to all of a sudden just for it to be cut short so drastic, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I can't even fathom. Like, oh my gosh, bro. It still hits me to this day. It's like I didn't finish where I wanted to. Oh my gosh, man. Ugh. I'm sorry. It feels weird talking about it.
And it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it changed my life forever. How I applied myself in the classroom my first 2 years in college, honestly, was a joke. I got by just because I went to a great high school that instilled great skills, fundamental skills, and that's what it was. But to be honest with you, I had to apply myself. I had to rededicate my life to my academics, because I realized, hey, what if this doesn't work out? What am I gonna do? Like literally, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And I just did not have the answer. When people would ask me that question all the time, I'll say, I'm playing football. Oh, I'm gonna play in the NFL. They'd be like, oh, okay. And there was no like hesitation. Like I knew I was playing in the NFL. But now I'm in the hospital in Philadelphia having these questions. I didn't tell anybody after that. I just rehabbed. I didn't let them know. Internally, I was fearful about what my future would be. But I rehabbed and I got back onto the field. I was ready for the next season, my junior season. As I got to the junior season, I started to feel a little twinge in my left groin. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, I'm back. All the medical reports, the MRI came back, everything was healed, there's no issue. And while we're preparing for the start of that 2004 season, I started to feel more pain. And now I'm getting more concerned, because now I'm going into the season hurt. I played a game, we knocked off Michigan State. It was the biggest upset in school history at the time, and I was a part of it. But yet I was running in pain. And I remember after that game, I told the docs, I think we need to get another MRI, a second opinion. Go to the hospital, get an MRI, and the worst thing ever, worst information that I ever received, you ripped it again. And I'm just crushed. My spirits is crushed. I'm down in the dumps. I'm frustrated, I'm angry at God, because I felt like, well, God, I thought you wanted me to go to the NFL. I thought you wanted me to go in the NFL and change locker rooms. Like I thought I was gonna be that dude that does Bible study. And all of a sudden, like this thing ain't happening the way that I envisioned it to happen. But I'm saying all of this internally. Externally, I'm smiling. I'm dapping people up. Don't worry, guys, I'm gonna be back. I'm good, y'all, I'm good. But internally, I'm grieving.
That place when your mind is just like, you don't know what to do, who understand what I'm going through, Because a lot of times you think somebody older doesn't understand, but if someone's been living on this planet long enough, they know exactly what you're going through, and what I went through it when being depressed. One time I was so depressed, I don't think I ever told anybody this, but I wanted to kill myself. But I didn't, obviously, because something in my mind was like, no, you're better than that. And I'm gonna get emotional. My mom, it was God. It was his angels around me or something, but I wasn't born again. That's another story. But he was like, my mind was like, no, you're better than that. You're not gonna go out like that. I wanted to jump out of the window because I felt sorry for myself. I thought I wasn't good enough. But I didn't. I just fought on. Maybe not the right way, but long enough to stay alive to give my life to Jesus. I closed myself off to a lot of people. I didn't know how to act. I acted different, but put on a front, you know, like a tough guy or something, or funny, be a comedian, not to show my true feelings, my hurt, but there is help if you ask for it. Just go to somebody that you trust and don't be ashamed. Because if you feel ashamed, that's the part that is crying out the most for help.
I think you have to connect with the right people. I connected with so many people I thought was supposed to be there, or I thought would be there. And what happened was I replaced them for God. So my expectation was no longer in God, but I start to see people as being God. And what I mean by that, when situations and things would happen, I would run to them and I run to God. And so I had to learn, like, Lord, I say this prayer, I want you to approve the people that's supposed to be in my circle. If they're not here to help me and build me, and vice versa, because you can't just be a taker. You know, we have to give back and give of ourselves to others as well. And so there needs to be a mutual communication. There needs to be a mutual relationship in order for you to grow as individuals, as sons and daughters of God. And the community of friends that I have now, I'm so grateful for them, because when I was at my lowest, it's funny about when you find yourself at the lowest, you know who really riding with you. You know who got your back. And so there were people that said that they would have my back but left me, and then there were people who said they would have my back and remained. And so for that, I'm grateful. But it taught me how to be loyal. It taught me how to be a woman of integrity. It taught me the true meaning of friend, because that's what Jesus calls us, right? He says that we're his friend. And so he's given me living beings here on earth that really exemplifies the word friend.
But I bounce back once again. Thanks be unto God. I get into the next season in 2005. I rehab all the way back again. And this time, I'm healed. And I remember playing this song, what's his name? I love this guy. Donald Lawrence, I Speak Life. And it was on heavy rotation in my 1992 Acura car that I had back in the day. and I would just be blasting it. And if all my Florida people know that we love heavy bass, and I was just blasting the bass. I speak life, I speak life. And I'm speaking life into my situation. I'm gonna live and shall not die. And I was so excited going into the 05 season. It's my redshirt junior year now. I'm running. I'm not running at the speed I once was, but I can see my body getting back to what it once was. I'm stronger and faster in other areas. And so we have a great 2005 year. We break history. We actually have 7 wins. Now we're going to a bowl game in Arizona. So all the things are happening. We were 1-11 2 years ago, and now we're 7-5. So the tide is turning. Rutgers fans are coming out of the woodworks. I'm talking about people that laughed at Rutgers are now fans of Rutgers. And so it's exciting to kind of be a part of the journey. Like, this is why I didn't go to Ohio State. Like, this is why I choose not to go to SEC Auburn. Like, I want to be a part of something special. So at the end of our junior year, going into my senior year, 2006, this is January 2006, everybody went home for vacation, Christmas break. We get here in January of 2006. I remember going and we having a team meeting. And this is when the leadership light bulb for me finally turned on. I watched on the TV a team that annoyed me, Ohio State University, win the national championship, right? And you're thinking to yourself, like, wow, like, I could have been a part of that, right? I could have been a part of that, like, championship. And I started writing. I wrote a letter to my team. And I basically told my team how this is on us. If we're gonna be the team that we are destined to become, or we're gonna be the team that changes the narrative here at Rutgers University, it's gonna require us, not the coaches, but us, to come together and be committed to this. Now, I'm paraphrasing now because I wrote that letter almost 20 years ago. But I wrote it in my room, and I said, I'm gonna recite this letter to my team when I get back there. I'm telling you, when we got to the meeting room, coaches called us in, and at the time, this is how Coach Shiani would have. He will have all the upperclassmen, like the seniors and juniors, in the front row of the auditorium, and everyone else is in the back, the freshmen. And so now I'm moving from the junior to the senior mark. I'm moving from the back to the front. And Coach has his weekly or monthly kind of conversation of kind of get back, we got to put our work and effort in. And he gave room for, says, does anyone have any comments or questions or thoughts? For the first time in front of the entire team, I raised my hand. And I got up, I pulled out my binder, I pulled out this paper, and I recite this paper in front of this letter in front of the team. And I'm just shaking, like my hands like visibly shaking, because I know what was on this letter was a burden. And I also knew that there was no turning back. When leaders have to lead leaders, all eyes are on you.
When you go to college, you got to understand why you're in college. That is key. People get away, they need to refocus. Why are you trying to go to that college? What's your purpose? You know, what are your goals? As I said before, what are your insights? What are your dreams? So if you're going just to have fun and all that, that's not where it is. You need to do something that's going to invest in your life. And so honestly, the college you attend is key, because you can go to a big college and truly get lost.
Yes, absolutely.
And lose even yourself,
Yes.
which is really key. Then you can't even find your way back to who you really were. And I just know that it's what really helped make me who I am too.
Wow.
Because I had an opportunity to meet a lot of different people, not people just like me. I was able to see different people from different walks of life, different countries. I learned a lot. And I also learned, as I said before, you can't judge. They bleed just like I do.
Right.
There was nothing different,
Right.
except the color, but the rest is the same. And so what's key is what's on the inside of the person, not what's on the outside.
And I remember going back to my seat and just kind of sitting down there. It was like this out-of-body experience, like Tuck, this quiet, I'm talking about introvert. People know Tuck now as this extrovert leader, ministry, all of this, but if they knew me growing up, I was a very shy, quiet guy, very introverted, someone who, to this day, I love 1,000-piece puzzles because I'm just by myself, kind of putting things together. So, but what God was doing was pulling me out of that for His glory. And fast forward, 2006, we have our first game down there in North Carolina, ACC country, and we knocked them off. We knew we were good. We knew we were special. Everything finally came together. I'm a senior, I'm a captain, I'm leading the charge here on the field. Game 2, we win. Game 3, we win. We're 3-0. Game 4, we get to Howard University. We already know it's a win. Expectation, anticipation is for me to play one half of football and be out. Get there, third quarter, we had one more series with the starters. Catch a ball, a dig route coming across the field. I'm running 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards. I get to the sideline and I fall to the ground. No one hit me. I just planted and fall to the ground. And immediately my hands goes to my ankles. I remember grabbing my ankle and just not being able to get up. And I'm like, what? First thought that came into my mind, did I just sprain my ankle? Like, we got South Florida next week in Tampa. My family's supposed to be flying and driving into Tampa. And I know how high ankle sprains are. There's no way I'm gonna be back for that game. So that's all I'm thinking. I'm thinking I sprained my ankle. They take me to the back. The game is going on. I'm visibly frustrated. You can even see it on the TV copy of the game. Like I'm angry. Like at the time, I'm just taking off my helmet. I had hair at the time. I had the box braids, and I'm just visibly frustrated. But I'm frustrated because I know I'm going to be compromised playing USF next week. Little did I know, when I walked in the back of the X-ray room, they said, "Tuck, your ankle's fractured." And I'm even just bringing this up is bringing emotions because I just was like, God, what is this? Like, why? Like all the work, all the time put into it. This is my senior year, and you're telling me I just fractured my ankle. And so I just got my composure together as best as I could, and I said, all right, how many weeks is this? Like, do I gotta get surgery? They said, you know what? You don't have to get surgery. If we can just wrap it up, put, not ace bandage, but, losing track of thought, but they put something around it, a cast, there you go. They put a soft cast around it, and they said, usually these things will heal on its own, but it's gonna take probably 5 to 6 weeks. You're gonna miss some games. So my mind was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna miss some games, but I can be back. We have a bye week there, so I may miss 4 games. All right, we just lost 4 games. We just won 4 games, so I may miss 4 games, but I'll be back for that big game against Louisville. I'll be back. So week by week, I'm rehabbing, I'm staying in shape, doing upper body lifts, doing upper body cardio, and I'm being positive in my mindset. But there comes a time where they actually have to take off the cast to see how well the bone is healed. So I'm, 2 weeks out from this Louisville game, this big game that was gonna happen. And I go into the doc's office, and they do x-rays on it. And they tell me, Tuck, the bone's not healing correctly. I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to put 2 screws in this, and your season's done. I cried my eyes out. I felt betrayed, to be honest with you, by the medical staff, because in my mind is like, why didn't we just put the screws in there from the beginning? I could have just healed, and we would have probably been here and had a different conversation. But guess what had to happen? When I left the doctor's office, there was a team meeting, and captains were going to be leading the meeting. So once again, internally I'm grieving, but externally I got a responsibility. I got to make sure that they know that this is not about Tuck, but this is about the team. So I gathered myself and spoke to the team how important it's for us to manage and make sure that as we're winning and having success, we're 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0. Now we're about to go in the biggest week of our lives against the number 3 team in the country. We're now ranked number 15th in the country. All eyes will be on New Jersey on a Thursday night football game, but we got to handle our business here in practice. And so everyone was hoping and praying that I was going to get back for the Louisville game, so was I, but unfortunately, the season was over. It was dashed. We win the game. Long story short, everyone rushed the field. We just knocked off the number 3 team in the country. I'm excited. I'm happy. My brother flew in for the game. But deep down inside, I was hurt. I felt like God betrayed me. I felt like it just wasn't fair. Like I did all this work to get to this point, and I can't really truly enjoy it.
It was done. He's like, all right, let's just keep going on. Like now, so one thing about me, I was like more realistic with myself towards the end of that time, like middle of June. When I was younger, like I said, like I was always into fashion. I love designing. Still have a sketchbook to this day of me like drawing like Air Force Ones, but just with my designs on it. To this day, I still have it just so I can remember. And I told myself, once I get to college, I want to focus on my career. So I remember when I was like just about to actually, get into the school I wanted to, I was like, you know what, let me leave my recruitment open just for a little longer. Cause I spoke to my coaches about it. Cause I was like, I kind of do want to finish at a certain point. So I left it open, and a few schools started to contact my coaches, and I felt good. I'm like, oh wow, schools actually want me, because I didn't feel like I put up the times where I needed to be to actually start getting recruited, but they did. So I was happy, but then I came to a realization with myself again. Do I actually see myself running after college? I personally didn't. So I'm like, all right, Lemire, you know what? Forget it. You go to the school where you feel like it's smarter for you. So, and that's when I committed to Montclair State University. And at the time, I was like, this is a great choice. I'm feeling good. I did what I feel like I needed to do. One of the greatest choices I could have made. I'm not going to lie. Like, I told myself, when you get to college, focus on your career. And my career always was in, the fashion world. When I was younger, I tried to look at other directions when it came to, I remember I wanted to be a scientist at one point. I don't know what I was thinking, because realistically, no, I'm fine. But, I tried to look at other ways of life and aspects, but it was like, nah, I really want to be a designer. I really want to do something else. Even if it's like me designing for a team. Even when I was in high school, I look at our uniforms, I'm like, oh, this is nice. But in my head, I'm like, I could design something better than this.
The Lord spoke to me he said to me maybe 3 years ago about don't lose your grip. And that at that time, I knew what that meant, because I was in a season of, just surrendering. Because in between all of everything that I just said, your flesh gets involved. You try to go ahead of God. You get disappointed with God. You just start to handle things outside of the will of God, and then you lose sight of God. And that's exactly that happened. I was doing well in the community and involved, and things happen in certain situations and circumstances happen where I totally lost sight of God, and I struggled for about 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years, I felt like I was just in the most driest, dead place in my life. And I remember the Lord spoke to me, and he said to me, do you want to live or do you want to die? He just said it to me like that. I wasn't exactly sure what that meant, but I knew that if it was coming from the Lord, he meant business with me. And so I made that decision 3 years ago to surrender my life, to resubmit my life to Christ. And through that transition where I was getting ready to enroll into the master's program at Pearl College, the Lord told me, don't lose your grip. And basically what he later showed me was grit means greatness revealed in purpose. And he began to minister to me about how the seed of greatness has always been in me, but it requires my obedience. It requires me getting to the presence of God. It requires me getting to the Word of God, and then the right assembly of God, and the right relationship with God, where He can reveal what my purpose was. And so when I reconnected, God then gave me God's Grip clothing. And so the shirt you see here, this is the first words that he spoke to me: don't lose your grip.
One of my brothers in Christ, we were roommates living in Clifton, New Jersey, and sitting on the couch, we were just watching TV. Then, you know, I'm like trying to strategize and think what I'm gonna do, and he was like, Rob, it's like, you're always in the gym working out. Why don't you just become a personal trainer? I was like, huh. I was like, all right. And the funny thing is, when I was in college, actually in high school, I used to read bodybuilding books, magazines and things like that. I used to take exercises and work on my biceps or triceps, whatever I was weak at, I would work on. So I go into college, working out, you know, strength coach, whatever. Then on the side, a lot of my college peers just look at my physique and everything like that, and they know my personality, how I was, you know, how I act, how I presented myself. I had two females, they were ex-athletes, whatever, but they didn't play any sports in college. They wanted me to train them. I was like, okay. And, you know, I was like, I wasn't certified or anything like that, but they trusted me, so they would like pay me, you know, $10 each. I was out of college, you know, and so $20 a week, whatever, it goes a long way. I was stuck in Nebraska. I wasn't going anywhere, so get some food, and I trained the ladies. They liked it, and I didn't think anything of it then. But to fast forward to my brother in Christ, he was talking about being a personal trainer, and I started thinking about all that. And I was like, I should train a lot of people, you know, in high school and college and stuff like that. I was like, all right. So I got certified and started working in Fairfield, New Jersey, called the place Powerhouse. And so Powerhouse Gym in Fairfield, New Jersey. Started working. I started as a floor trainer. You know, I didn't come in right away and start training people. I was a floor trainer. I was cleaning the floor, cleaning the machines, help people whoever needed help, explain how the machines worked to certain people that didn't know what they were doing or anything like that. Or I would clean all the machines and equipment, clean the locker rooms, pick up paper in the locker rooms. So pretty much I was like a janitor, a custodian, but I was a personal trainer. And talking about humble beginnings. So it was just like God was starting me from the bottom. So I appreciate when, at the level where I'm at now, I'm not too big.
But as always, you kind of just say, you know what, how are you going to handle it and move forward? So we ended up finishing the season 11-2. We lost another game in triple overtime against West Virginia. It was unfortunate because if we would have won that game, we would have went to the Orange Bowl in Miami. But it is what it is. We lost that game, and then we ended up winning the bowl game down there in Texas. So now my mind shifts to what's next. I think that's the question that every young athlete asks themselves throughout college. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I said, you know what? I can still play this. My bone healed. Let me go try out. Let me try out and get ready for pro day. People are still anticipating me to try out. Obviously, my draft stock went from potential 3rd, 4th round to, hey, maybe 6th rounder, maybe this individual could be a free agent. But I knew I had the talent, right? That was never the question. But the question that everybody and every agent and every NFL scout was asked, will Tuck ever stay healthy? And so, you know what? I trained. I got ready for our March Pro Day. I got into the bubble in front of all 32 teams. Some NFL coaches were there. We're going through different activities. I get to the broad jump, and the broad jump is where you jump from one section to the out. You broad jump outward. And I did my first broad jump. I remember jumping, and I jumped like 10-something. And I remember I was in the air, I felt something. I was like, oh God, no, this is not happening. I was like, God, please, miracle now. Give me a miracle now, because I just feel like something's not right in my leg. And I jumped again, but I didn't jump with as much force, and I didn't feel it. So I said, all right, you know what? It's gonna calm down. Whatever muscle tightness that I felt, it'll go away. I get now to the next station, vertical jump. Now, mind you, I've been known to be a high jumper. I've jumped 39 inches vertical. I've jumped at occasions 41. So I was anticipating to jump a high vertical jump. I get underneath the vertical jump, I squat low, I raise up to hit the top of it. As I raise up, I scream and let out the loudest sound that ever came to my body. It was probably 20 years of realization of a yell, of realizing that my athletic career was over.
Statistics and studies show that fewer than 2% of college athletes actually go on to play professional sports. It's a very, very serious truth and reality for a lot of people. It's very scary, very uncomfortable, and especially when you feel like you have no one to talk to, when everyone was just rooting for you, and you think that maybe no one notices that you're confused too about the future. What a real place it is to be when all you know is practice, all you know is rehearsals, all you know is getting ready to perform. But what happens when the lights go off?
A couple years, I built a clientele, but a couple years later, I meet a friend, actually befriend a guy and became my mentor, and he owned a sports performance facility in Randolph, New Jersey, and it was called IAP, Institute Athletic Performance. And I got his ear and we started talking. I talked to him for literally 2 hours. And I had his attention the whole entire time because I was talking about what I was passionate about. It's something that he was interested in because he was looking for another trainer, a sports coach. So then he brought me up to his facility. I saw the athletes. I got goosebumps. Never looked back ever since.
I went from designing to being a creative director in this sense, and then to posting everything. And it was a tough project, but like I said, I did it myself, so it was even more enjoyable. The creativity behind it, the reason why I make it, the reason why I use colors, the reason why I captured this angle is literally deeper than just a bag at the end of the day. And that's what I've been realizing even more lately about myself. My creativity is really getting to a point higher than I could even expect it, and it all kind of stems from me wanting to be competitive when it came to sports. And like I said, it's just crazy how God really uses certain situations in your life to just mold you to become someone and continue to better yourself and better people around you.
And so that's another brand, or that's another ministry, I like to call it, to be honest, is to really encourage young people or young adults that they have purpose, that God has a plan for their lives. I mean, as you know, that the enemy will come in and distract them and cause them to look at social media and look at all the other perks and all these other things that they try to make a reality for them. But God is the reality in their life. God is the one who's going to get them to that place if they desire. Because the one thing that they don't see behind the scenes is how they got there. They see the glamour, they see the glory, but they don't know how those people got what they got. And so I'm in a position to be a living testimony of what God can do despite your shortcomings, and be that voice of reason to say, hey, look, if God could do it for me, he can do it for you. And so this message is really just for individuals to grab hold to it. Jesus says that he's the vine and we're the branches. So without the branch being connected to the vine, there's no source of life. And so that's how I looked at grip, is that as long as I continue to grip God, that everything that he planned for my life will go accordingly, as long as I trust his will for my life.
For all the women and gentlemen out there, after sports, there's life after sports. I 100% say stay in the books. Don't take that for granted, because that's important. Because You may study something and something may click, and I was like, whoa, you really like that. You know, sports aren't forever. Let me explain something to you right now. I train athletes from high school and collegiate. That's about 8 years. Some maybe middle school. But I was taught these kids have a short window. These young men and women have a short window. And I look at it as they're Ferraris. I have to train them to perform at their best on the field so they may have fun and excel above the other peers. But that window closes. A lot of them, I had one at 19 years, as I mentioned, only had one make professional football. And he only lasted a year. Football, sports is not everything. It's for the moment. At that moment, absorb it, cherish it, don't worship it, but cherish it, enjoy it, because later on in life you'll think about that. I had fun.
It's my job interview. The Pro Days is the NFL job interview, and I just got hurt. And I felt like my entire athletic career was just going in replay in my mind. And I'm thinking about all the things, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with my life, and all this stuff. And I left the bubble in a wheelchair, just my dreams crushed. And from the period of March until May, I would say I was in depression, flat out depression. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't even do my rehab. I was supposed to be rehabbing my hip. I just felt like not only like that God abandoned me, but I felt like I was under attack. I felt like, man, this is a crossroad time for me, because I can literally just say, forget all the discipling that I did with my team, forget all the AIA leading that I was doing, because clearly, God, you don't care. Clearly, that didn't matter, because I'm in this predicament where I have nowhere else to turn. But God was doing something even greater. He was forcing me to rely on Him and only Him. Not part of Him, not an arm of Him, but He wanted me to literally let go of my life and trust Him that He has this all planned out. And I had to do it. I cried and cried by myself in my dorm room at the time, my apartment house. And I remember crying out to God and say, God, you got me. You got all of me. And it was in that moment He brought me back to a conference I went to in 2004 in Texas, Fellowship of Christian Athletes Conference. I didn't share this with you guys earlier because it was more appropriate now. At that conference, they had this prophetic session where a gentleman would just pray over you, and if the Lord gives him any words, he would say those words. And this was the first time I was ever in an environment where around a bunch of athletes that just love God. And I get up there in line, and the guy begins to pray over me. And he says, I see a draft. Now mind you, you tell that to a 19-year-old, I see a draft. First thing that I thought about was the NFL draft. I thought about all the things that will come with that. So inside, as he's praying, when my eyes are closed, I'm sure if there was a camera on me, I was smiling like, oh wow, yeah. And because he said, I see a draft, I see a draft. I see you being drafted. This big occasion's taking place. I see you being drafted. But it's not the draft that you think it is. You're being drafted into God's kingdom. And he said a bunch of other stuff in this 45-second prayer. He's like, God is drafting you as a first rounder for the kingdom, for his kingdom. I don't know I don't know where you're at spiritually, but God is drafting you. Fast forward to 2006, I'm just crying out to God. Oh my God, I'm so emotional right now. I'm just crying out to God, God, yes. I accept it. I accept all that comes with it. I guess I'm not being drafted in the NFL. That's the reality. It's not happening. but you're drafting me for something bigger that I have no clue what it's going to be about. You know how much I love sports. You know how much I love football. You know how much I love doing this. And I just feel like it's being taken away from me. But you, God, you said you're going to draft me, so God, I'm here. And I was just by myself crying out to God. And like day by day in the month of May, God was just kind of taking me out of this depressive mindset, because I was in a depressive mindset. My then girlfriend, married now wife, would tell you I was in a low place, and she was concerned about me. So she said, you just need to hang out with your friends, just get out of the room. And so one Sunday, I said, you know what, let me do that. So I went with my teammates to a bowling alley, and I'm bowling with them, and a gentleman comes up to me, and he says, hey, you're Sean Tucker, right? I said, yeah. He said, how you doing, man? Like, I feel so sorry for you. I watched you. I watched your career at Rutgers, man. You did some amazing things, and just like you got hurt. I said, yeah. He said, what do you plan on doing? And honestly, I had no idea what I was going to tell this guy at all. But all I knew is I graduated a couple weeks ago with a double major in labor studies and geography. Meteorology was something that I was interested in, and I also did some GIS data mapping. And so I told this guy, I said, well, I'm about to head home to Florida in a week. My bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I did some GIS mapping data in college too, so I understand that. But my plan is to go down to South Florida and go walk into a TV studio and ask for an internship, because I got nothing right now. My resume, I don't even got a resume. Like, it's bare. He said, GIS? He said, oh, okay. So I actually work for a youth program in the city of Newark that does work with the city of Newark and the police department. And I know that they're looking for a GIS specialist to help map crime data for youth offenders. Says, I'll call you if you're interested in it. And so I said, you know what? Yeah, I'm interested. But I didn't think nothing of it. I sent over my resume to him, and 3 days went by, nothing, with the anticipation that this ain't happening. 1 day left. My bags are packed, the car is packed. I'm the last person to leave our apartment. Everyone else is gone. I'm about to drive home to Florida, and I get an email from Ken Carmichael. And he says, hey, meet me in Newark on Monday. There's a meeting in the city with Mayor Cory Booker and the police department. Let's just see if something happens there. So I get there on Monday. I meet with him in the morning. I have my big old laptop at the time with all the GIS software. And he says, hey, we're gonna go to this juvenile reoffenders meeting, and the mayor and his staff is gonna be there. And so I get there, and they're going around the room doing introductions, and I'm just saying my name. And I said, hey, I'm a former football player at Rutgers, and people knew me. I was like, wait a second. Awesome, this is good. Let's get a ticket into the door here. And the question came up around about GIS mapping. And Ken at the time says, yeah, this guy over here, I met him, and he does some GIS mapping. So I think what we can do is we can bring him on for a couple months to do some mapping in the summer and map the data of all the youth offenders in the city of Newark. And they said, yeah, great. So he gave me an internship for 3 months to do that. Within those 3 months, something miraculous happened. I kept on going to these meetings. People loved my personality. They saw that I was really just interested in learning, because at the time I had nothing. That they said, we would love for you to stick around past this internship, working in this Team Gateway transitional program for juveniles that are coming out of the detention center. So for another year, I interned, and I was working with at-risk youth coming out of the juvenile detention center that were now going back into the public school system. And what was amazing about that was I started to identify a little bit of what I love to do. I love sports, but I also love helping people. And I was getting an opportunity to talk with 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds with no mom, no dad, aunt and uncle, strung out on drugs. Like their situation was built for them to fail. And when I tell you, all those moments where I was crying and boo-hooing about the injuries and the ankles and I'm talking about all that just faded away daily, because I'm engaging with these individuals that their circumstances are a lot more dire than what I call as my life ending. And my perspective was shifting, it was changing. And I was getting joy just speaking life into these individuals and saying, hey man, like you can get your life back together. Like I can help you with these soft skills. So for 2 years I did that. And then I got a phone call from a good buddy of mine that was working at Rutgers University. And he called me and says, hey Tuck, Rutgers Athletics is going to be building a student athlete development department that is focused on life skills for the athletes. I couldn't think about anyone greater than you to do it. And so I applied for the job. By the grace of God, I got it.
I'm a praying person, so anything I would put before God. So my first advice to a student, being the fact that college, any university can literally change your life. Any major decision you should put before God. And get the direction that you need, because sometimes we are trying to make these tough decisions on our own, and there are people God can put in your place, put in certain places to help you with these decisions. So I would say definitely, seek God. That's from me though. It affects people's destiny, and that is key. You want them to get where they're supposed to go, and there's so many things out there to distract them. So to have people as yourself and others to help guide them is amazing and is needed.
Honestly, I would say 1, trust in God, but 2, life is all about change at the end of the day. Like I said, I was so competitive, I was so into sports, but I knew you had to be honest with yourself. Sometimes you don't want to be honest with yourself. Sometimes you want to do everything that you want to do, but you have to be honest with yourself. Like, if you know you don't see yourself doing this sport after college or even for a long time, all right, sit back and be like, what else am I good at? Just know it's more to you than just a sport. Don't attach your identity to that thing. Like, yes, I ran track, but I'm not Lemire, the track runner. I'm not Lemire, the designer. Don't attach yourself to anything. Just know, like, change could come at any minute. I wasn't expecting to get to college and realize I'm going to start a brand. I always plan on starting a brand probably after college, and even if I did end college, not expected to be big. But I'm sitting here now like, no, I know my brand is going to be big. I know my potential. I know what can happen if I just lock in and focus. So the main thing I could really tell anyone, the athlete and anybody in life in general, someone young, someone wanting to be an entrepreneur, just keep pushing, because life is all about change. If you don't want to change, you're not going to get nowhere at the end of the day. If I didn't want to change, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Really build a council. Get those people around you who you know will be honest with you and you can trust, and talk to them about it. But just know, don't put your identity in nothing.
There's hope. And it's just how God is just, I didn't know God personally. He was just navigating me through people, and just people, because at that time I started making new friends, but better friends, not friends or knuckleheads or anything like that. They were mature, more successful, the people who were making better decisions in life. Those are the people I started hanging out. Well, God just navigated me into their life. That were making better choices and things like that. So I would learn from them, and I started making better decisions instead of making decisions before that would make me depressed or put me in a situation that will open the door for certain things that make me depressed. Pastor Jason, Pastor, y'all don't know that? Nope.
Man, don't give up. I mean, this journey can be very difficult. The one thing that I hold on to is the book Ecclesiastes, where it talks about chapter 3, where it talks about how there's nothing that goes under the heavens that God don't know about. I'm paraphrasing, but it talks about how there's this time and there's a time for this and a time for that. And when you understand that there's a time for example, there's a time to love, there's a time to hate, right? And when you understand that, that means that it won't remain. You will understand that you can regain that strength that you need to get up. You will understand that he talks about how these light afflictions are only but for a moment. You'll understand in those moments of when you want to give up, that if you just take that extra step and don't give up, that situation or that circumstance or whatever you may be faced with will be turned around. That God is faithful, and if he's promised you and he's told you things to come, and whether he spoke it or he used someone to speak through you, that you have to stand strong in the battle, to not give up, to not lose sight of God, to not faint, because in your season and at the right time, that your miracles, signs, and wonders will happen. I'm a testament of what God can take someone broken and restore them. I have such a joy for him that I've never had before in my life. And it's not just because it's my birthday, but it's because he's really restoring everything that the enemy thought that he stole, that I would never regain consciousness, that I would never get back to this place of praising and worshiping him. Keep moving, keep soaring, keep looking to the hills in which all of your help comes from, because it truly comes from God and not man.
God has a funny way of bringing you to your calling. And how every step, every conversation, every trial, every area where you had to persevere, ultimately is bringing you to your destination. And I don't know where my destination will be, because I had no idea I was going to be an AD here at a Division III school here in Jersey City. But I'm sitting here now in that place right now because God has an ultimate destination. But the model and the formula that has gotten me here has been a trust, a reckless trust with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He rearranged and transformed my thinking and my thought that has allowed me to now be in sports, working in sports, impacting thousands of athletes that I did at Rutgers University as an associate athletic director, and now as an associate vice president and director of athletics here at Jersey City. I've seen thousands upon thousands of athletes come in, and my mantra, my life's philosophy, my leadership philosophy is about enriching, empowering, and developing this next generation of young students so that they can be the best versions of themselves. And that is success. That is you're paving the way for the next generation. And so I'm excited for this next stage of my life, because the light bulb is not on me anymore. The lights, camera, action is not on me. It's on the next crop, and I'm here for that. The reality of the matter is not everyone has that kumbaya, Michael Strahan moment retiring, Carly Lloyd who just retired. Not everyone could leave the game and the sport that you play on your own terms. It's not the reality. The fact of the matter is 99% of us will leave this game not on our own time, but because of an injury, because of a life circumstance, because our talent is no longer good enough. And so for those that may be in a moment where you're feeling a little bit low or depressed, I'm a living testimony that you will come out of it, that you will thrive, that you are greater than the ball dropping, the glove catching, the puck being slapped into the net, that you have a greater life ahead of you than your sport. But your sport can be a ticket. Your sport can be a foundation of leadership, of work ethic, of resiliency, because you know you need to be resilient in this moment. So let's start now. Perseverance also builds character. Character gives you the hope, and hope is found in the faith. So I don't know what your faith is. My faith is in Christ Jesus. Your faith may be in something else, but I pray that you never lose hope of that anchor, because that anchor is what's going to keep you strong through some of the most difficult moments in your life. But if you hold on to that anchor, the sea is going to settle. It's going to calm. The storm is going to pass. The sunshine's going to come. And because you held on to the anchor, you're going to stay afloat.
And before we go, I do want to extend the opportunity to you. I know you heard in all of these stories, they had a relationship with God that allowed them to find hope again. Listen, I want to make sure before you go, if after hearing all these stories and you don't really have a relationship with Christ, you really don't know Jesus for yourself, but you're feeling your heart be gripped, you're like, yo, like, I ain't even gonna lie, I don't really know about God like that, or I'm not close to my own faith like that, but you feel this pull on you. I just want to let you know that is Jesus speaking to you. The Bible says that Jesus stands at the door and he knocks, and that is his invitation for you to let me in, because he can't force you, but he has this way of really letting you know it's time. And so if you're that athlete, if you're that leader, if you're that person who just simply landed on this video and you feel that tug, I just want you to, number one, be open to praying with me. And all I'm going to simply do is pray a guided prayer for you that you can repeat after. And ultimately, the things I'm going to pray is that, God really brings people into your life that can help guide you and walk with you and help you find a local church so you can really develop an intimate and real relationship with Christ. And this moment really becomes something that changes the rest of your life forever. So would you pray with me? All right. So, Heavenly Father, Jesus, I want to invite you into my heart. I watched this video and I can feel the pull, I can feel the tug. And I'm recognizing that this is you calling me. So Jesus, I am asking you to begin to now make yourself real to me so that I can really truly come to know why I'm really here on this earth. And Jesus, I thank you for saving me and making this opportunity available for me to give my life to you. Thank you for not allowing me to die without getting to know you. And Jesus, I recognize this moment now as my time to cross over from death to life, from being blind to now I can finally see. And God, I'm asking you to now bring people into my life that are going to ultimately bring me closer to Jesus. God, I'm asking you to begin to direct my steps to even finding a local church so that I can come to grow in my knowledge of who you are and why you died on the cross for me. Thank you, Jesus, for doing exactly what I just prayed. In Jesus' name, amen. Listen, if you prayed that prayer, I'm in full agreement. And I believe that God is getting ready to bless you, speak to you. And I pray that the Holy Spirit begins to reveal Jesus to you in a way like never before. And you remember today's date as the day that your life has never been the same. Listen, there's hope. And all of these stories were a testimony to that. I love you. I'm going to see you. I'm praying for you. Let's stay in contact. I'm going to holler at y'all.